Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today on implementing an IT ticketing system in Office 365 and Teams. We have a lot of material to cover, so we'll jump right into it. But first, I want to mention that we will have a recording of this webinar available afterwards. We'll send a link out to everyone who registered. We also have a questions box in the GoToWebinar panel that you can put in any questions you want in there, and we'll try to answer them during this webinar. If we don't get to them during the webinar, we'll answer by email afterwards. Also, at any time, you can contact us by sales or phone, sales@crocanyon.com, or by phone, and we'll be glad to set up a one-on-one demo to answer any questions that perhaps were not answered during this webinar, or if you want to talk about your situation in more detail, we'd be glad to set that up and have that one-on-one conversation with you. So let me introduce ourselves. Here, I am Scott Restivo, the President and CEO of Crow Canyon Software. Ryan Stefani, our sales executive, will be doing the demo, and Daniel Brooks, our product specialist, will be assisting along with this. So you'll get, we'll jump over to Ryan in a minute or two. I'm going through a few slides while people are trickling in. I want to mention that Crow Canyon Software has been around for 24 years. We have offices in California, in the Silicon Valley area. We also have office in Rhode Island, South Carolina. We have a group in India, and we have a small office in Australia. So we're worldwide. We've been selling software on the Microsoft collaboration platform for those 24 years, since 1999. And we are a Microsoft preferred business application partner. We've been that for many years. We, of course, are very integrated and associated with Microsoft in that respect as a partner, as a selling our applications on top of their collaboration platforms. We're also a California certified small business, and we do a lot with the California government as well as other states, and also the federal government with GSA. We have a lot of people now interested at the federal government level now that we're on the GSA. Also in the military defense systems too there. So what we do here, we have business applications that are out-of-the-box applications ready to go. You can get them. This is one of them, is the IT Help Desk you'll see today, but we also have another. We have a range of those, such as asset management, purchasing, contract management, project management, all running on the Office 365 Teams and SharePoint platforms. We have NITRO Studio Forms and Workflows, which is our application building platform. It's really great. People really love it. They take it and build their own applications out of it to meet their particular needs, replacing InfoPath forms or Access forms or Lotus Notes and any legacy outdated program. And they can build, be very creative with that and build any kind of, say, request management or some kind of business process workflow with it. And that's available as a studio with a forms designer, workflow designer, and reporting and portals and many, many other features. And we could, if you're interested in that, we go into detail about that. We also are, in the last few years, have moved into chatbots and apps for MS Teams as Microsoft Teams came more prominent during the COVID, crisis there, and people started working more remotely. Teams rose to the forefront in a lot of ways, and we've been using Teams doing a lot of development on Teams with bots and apps and integrating it with our applications. Now, one point I want to make is that all our products run in Office 365, and this includes the commercial, which is what most people are on, the GCC, which is what a lot of government agencies are on, but also the GCC High, which is where you get into a much more secure situation. That's when I'm talking about those defense and military contractors are using the GCC High version of our program. We also run on SharePoint on-premises in 2013, 2016, and 2019, and we will be developing for the next version of SharePoint, which is SharePoint SE, which means subscription edition, but it's an on-premise version that will be coming out sometime in the next, maybe this year or later this year. Now, what we have here is IT Help Desk. Today, we're talking about the IT Help Desk. It comes in 3 versions. There's the IT Help Desk Standard, and Ryan will go into this a little bit more. There's IT Help Desk Professional, which is the standard plus asset management. And then we also provide a bundle if you're looking for a more extensive collection of applications to power up your service desk, your help desk. There's asset management. There's the help desk, asset management, project management, contract renewals or license renewals, purchasing, and we also have an onboarding module if you want to systemize your onboarding and create a certain kind of task there generated when someone's onboarded or when someone's offboarding. We talk about an onboarding module also. So with that, I'll just mention that we do have some upcoming workshops and webinars, and that, look at our website there. Our website's up there on the, our website right here. We just redid the home page here. It might be a little new to you if you haven't seen it before, but here it is. And what we automate, how we automate, kind of give it very direct statement about what we're doing here, and then you could drill into the different products and other areas that we're working on and providing these solutions for organizations really around the world, and a lot of interesting things going on here. So let's jump over now to the IT Help Desk ticketing system. Ryan, you ready to go?
I'm ready.
Okay, so you can be presenter. Go ahead and.
I'm gonna share my screen here.
All right, thank you.
Am I showing the right one? Yeah, I showing the right one.
Yeah. Yep.
Perfect. All right. Yeah. So Scott, thanks for the intro. Like Scott said, he's going to be answering questions as they work through this. So if I'm touching on a feature and you have a more in-depth question about what I'm talking about, shoot it in the questions chat in the webinar, and we'll take a look at it as I go. Now, I also apologize. I'm dealing with a little bit of allergy, so if my voice is a little raspy, I'm going to try to talk loudly. It's not a strong trait of mine, but if I'm also too quiet, feel free to yell at me. Okay, so just a quick reiteration, kind of taking a look at the application and its fit within NITRO Studio, because the two are not mutually exclusive, and it's important to understand the underlying tool set and how it applies to the applications today. So like Scott said, we have these out-of-the-box tools that are ready to rock from day one, right? Installed in your environment, self-contained inside of your SharePoint space. Now, what they sit on is the NITRO Studio tool set, right? So everything that we use to build the applications with come included with the application, right? So if we're looking at this from three separate permissions groups: end users, ticket submitters, technicians, ticket workers, and admins. The admin section, the admin team, is going to have access to the tool set that we use to create the application with. So essentially what it is, it's a long-winded way to say, hey, look, just because the application comes a certain way out of the box doesn't mean that it's set in stone, right? When I talk to people transitioning from, third-party tools or non-SharePoint based tools to our application, a lot of the hindrance or the reason for move, I should say, is circled around feature set or requested feature set from those tools, from those help desks, and the inability to add them in. We're not limited here. So if you want to go in and make a change and have the proper permissions, you can do so using NITRO Studio, or you can work with us, my team, to put that change in place, right? But the idea being we have the flexibility and the configurability to make it make sense for you. That being said, I'm going to talk about the out-of-the-box application today. I'm going to work my way through it. And first, or where I typically start, is at the top: how tickets get submitted. And I'm going to kind of walk through the maturation process, right? How does it start? How did it start for us? Where are we at now? And this is very much reciprocated in a lot of our customers, that crawl, walk, run mentality. And the first option being submitting a ticket via email, right? Most people are going to ask about this. Most people still want to collect tickets this way, and everything I show you from a ticket submission perspective is included, can be, you can use one or multiple options is a better way to say it. So you can set up an inbox or a set of shared inboxes, right? You're not limited to just one, and you're essentially pulling information from the email into the ticket itself, right? Things like who it's from, subject, body of the email, mapping over to the ticket. We can do some extra things like parse email headers and parse email bodies and write them into particular columns. But the core functionality is who's it from, what did they say, and what's the issue, right? Ticket to email to ticket submission. Now, the next step in the process, in the common term in the space over the last 6-7 years, was self-service portal, right? Relying on someone to go out and self-serve. So hence the NITRO portal, right? This was born, the next iteration of the help desk for ticket submission. Now, architecturally, I'm going to geek out for a second. I'm going to talk about the forms tool just briefly. I won't spend too much time here because I'll get lost in the weeds. You can spend hours on the forms tool. And if you are interested in seeing this as a standalone, right, if you want to go out and build your own forms in SharePoint, maybe replace InfoPath, you absolutely can using NITRO Studio, and it would require a one-on-one demo, right? Let's set up a time where we can walk through this independently. But I digress. Okay, so looking at the tickets list, right, where this is a SharePoint tool, we're writing on SharePoint lists. Now, Inside of SharePoint, the difficulties around permissions are definitely prevalent, right? It's there. We need to worry about item level permissions, meaning I don't want end users seeing the technician side and vice, well, really that. I don't want end users to be in the backend site if I can avoid it. So what we've done is we've created a portal form and a backend form specific to each targeted audience. So when the end users log in or they navigate to the portal, which I'm going to show in a second, they're only seeing a form specific to them, right? Versus the technician side, you're going to have more columns, more metadata, more things associated to working the request internally. So essentially what it is, we've created an independent site with the form that links back to the tickets list. So when the end user pops into a portal, all they have to do is submit ticket. They see this form. They have no idea that this is just the cover to the backend more complex form, and they don't even necessarily have to know that that backend site exists, that this is where they come and this is where they submit their IT request in, right? And some nice features here, being able to, you're not seeing me prompt to get logged in, right? I'm already in my Office 365 account. It's pulling my account information automatically in the requester info. If you're submitting on behalf of somebody else, it's a people picker column for those familiar with SharePoint, and all you have to do is start typing the person's name in and it can auto populate that information for them, right? Use Scott since he's on the call. So ticket submission. I like to call it the warm and fuzzies. Scott hears me say this all the time, but basically the end user's prompt that their ticket was submitted successfully, right? So they come in and add a ticket, a category, and a subcategory. I'll come back to these in a second. But they hit save, they add in their notes, they add in attachments, screenshots, they hit save, and they get the little check mark that their ticket has been created, right? So that's the core functionality, the core usage of the portal in that regard. But now adding in some extra layer of functionality here, and like I was saying, that crawl, walk, run mentality of how do I leverage this portal more effectively. And the next step is knowledge base. I want to put KB articles in front of my users for them to consume, use, and hopefully cut down on the number of tickets. Now, anyone who's worked in a help desk probably knows that not all end users read KB articles, right? We wish that they would, but it's just not the way of the world sometimes. So they're here to be searched, right? We have this cool list search tool inside of NITRO that allows us to search specifically on a list, as opposed to like a widespread SharePoint search out of the box where it spits you out across the entire site collection. So you can centralize their search. However, it's not always effective in their eyes because it requires an extra step. So the next iteration was, okay, you're not going to read it, that's fine. Well, let's take a look at this category and subcategory columns. Okay, you have a request in a laptop or a desktop request. Well, how about we put these KB articles in front of you on the ticket form before you submit the request? Just as an extra, hey, here it is, before you hit save, before you hit submit, right? So that's definitely a possibility, and it's allowing them to kind of see these articles before we get too far into it, right? Okay. Briefly here, I have this branding app embedded on the page here. So for those who do have non-English speakers, I will just make this small note here. In California, we get a lot of Spanish speakers, so we can present the forms and the portals in other languages if needed. It's not perfect. It's leveraging Google Translate in this instance, as you can see here at the bottom. The back end still needs to be in English. The workflows are written in English. The admin section is written in English. So that part is definitely English based. But if you do have some non-English speakers, you have the ability to run translations on the form if needed. But it's not great, but it's definitely serviceable. We have it available in we have it usable in a few accounts already. Now, once they submit the ticket, back to the form itself, once the end users submit the ticket, they can view their requests, view the assignment of the ticket, who has it, where is it, have any notes been left to them by the technician, kind of an extra layer of communication, getting away from solely the email functionality between end user and IT staff, right? So it does give them the ability to say, oh, you know what? I forgot to do ABC first, right? A way to self-serve. Now, Scott mentioned in his intro, Teams, right? moving over the last 2 years, and when we all went, mobile remote workforce, Teams became very prevalent. I remember those commercials Microsoft started pushing during the Olympics of the Teams environment, making calls, healthcare providers, and it's absolutely true. Everyone I talk to now, specifically in the 365 space, is moving more and more towards Teams being the main interface for their organization. And in reality, Teams is, a Skype and SharePoint, combination to make it, more like the tools you're used to using. The knock on SharePoint and its maturation process was kind of clunky. We've alleviated a lot of those issues in Teams, right? So what you're looking at right now is actually an app created for the help desk, in a Teams, in Teams itself. So for an end user's perspective, they just see it as an app on their Teams channel, and they can navigate to the portal here, submit a ticket directly from this portal interface, search KB articles, as well as view their existing requests, right? So the portal is there, right? I can't change the back end. The admin section, that third level, is always going to be SharePoint based. But the way that we interact with our applications moving forward, both as end users and technicians, can be as Teams prevalent as you want it to be, right? So there's a small half step above this, right? There's the self-service portal, or the email the ticket submission, the self-service portal. Now to the guided experience, right? The bot and the AI connection. Well, I want my users just to be able to submit a ticket in an iframe instance, right? That's kind of the, if I could spell here, submit IT ticket. And don't pay too much attention about the nomenclature, right? Well, we do offer services to help set up these different commands as we walk through the implementation process of the help desk. So it can be anything that you want here, really just hello or need help, whatever it may be. But as you see me walk through this command, you're going to see this form pop up in real time as the user's interacting with the backend staff. So now you very much have this kind of iframe ticket inside of the bot. Now it's a little more limited in terms of what you can do with this adaptive card inside of this chatbot versus in the help desk itself or in the app. But we are absolutely guiding the user through the experience in this case, hopefully with the end goal being to drive user adoption, right? Because it doesn't make sense to purchase a tool if the user is not going to use it. And that's why we give you this the set of different channels to submit requests through. This KB or this submit ticket, very prominent in today's space when we're talking about new help desk implementations. And then the other side of the bot, I see people look at this both ways. So I'm just going to type in another command here. And you're like, okay, what if I am using KB articles? What if I want them to see these KBs still, even though they're not in the portal itself, right? Okay, so let's use that example of need help, right? Instead of search KB, because I know my commands, we'll just say need help. And the bot's commanding them to say, or the command is, what do you need help with? What's the text that you're looking for? Okay, I forgot my password. So instead of them relying on the end user to go in and view the portal, search the KBs, and then choose what action they want to run off of it, we're leading them down that path. Because essentially, what are we getting them to do here, right? Fill the form out. Who are you? What's your issue? Have you seen the KBs? Submit your request. They don't see that though. All they see is this natural reaction, linear reaction of I need help. Here's the options that can help me, and here are the actionable items that I have after the fact. So these articles link back to that portal, hopefully driving them to be more and more comfortable using the portal, and still gives them an actionable item here from the interaction. Okay, I'm still going to submit a ticket. Now, Scott likes to call this as bot telemetry. What's cool about this is that it's actually storing information in the backend site, right? This needs to be stored and managed and maintained somewhere so we can report off of it. And you can see that ticket gets created real time, right? Here it is. Here's the link to your request. In the technician's dashboard, in the help desk dashboard, we can start to see how our interactions are trending. What articles are prompting tickets to be created, what articles are prompting requests to be resolved, what's our interaction by status, monthly status, how articles are being rated, what the surveys are like post ticket being closed out. So now it provides you a little bit more knowledge around this interaction with the AI space inside of your Teams channel. Now, some people will say like, hey, Ryan, I don't need this yet, and that's totally fine. The great thing about SharePoint, or having this be leveraged inside of your Office 365 environment, is that it's very much added in as you need it or as you see fit. I think this is cool, and I think that we can get anyone up and rocking on this from day one. But if you're not quite ready for it, or maybe your users need time to ease into a new platform before we roll this out, absolutely a possibility as well. Okay, so tickets are submitted. Email, portal, bot, Teams channel, Team channel bot, right? Now what happens, what do we do with the technicians internally, right? How do we notify them of what's going on? And what we do is we send a notification, right? So who does that notification go to is going to be defined by you guys internally, right? By your team internally. So when we talk about the ticket being submitted, we look at this backend dashboard. Typically out of the box, we leverage like category and issue type. In this case, we have some generic ones in here of email and issue types related to email, or hardware requests and issue types related to hardware request. And each one of these categories and subcategories can have a team, an individual category owner. You can also set up auto assignment and round robin as well, right? So we can pick and choose who the ticket gets routed to, right? Like I said, based on your internal requirements. You can also do level 1, level 2, level 3, etc. Now there's a question of, okay, well, what happens if it goes to my queue and it's not supposed to go to my queue? I'll get into that in a second when it comes to passing requests back and forth. But when it comes to assigning or notifying, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Sorry, tongue-tied. Who the request is supposed to go to, this is where we define that logic on the back end. Okay, so now what does the notification look like? Typically, in the past, when I've said notifications, I mean email notifications, right? That's what we're all used to. A ticket has been created, review and assign it to the right person with some information from the ticket in the body of the email. Your ticket has been received, right? Assigned, resolved, completed. All of these different ticket utilities, these rich text email templates that can be configured to pick and choose what you want to say, right? Now talking about Teams, just quickly, I'm going to show the workflow tool. Again, I'm not going to spend a bunch of time here, because I can spend hours on the workflow tool, and get lost in the weeds, but I want to be as quick as I can. And if you do want to talk about this in more detail, ping me. So we're looking at a trigger, right? Our actions based off of this trigger. So when an item is created, when a ticket is created, what are we going to do? So in this instance, we're sending an email. Now, if you do want to start working more and more with Teams, I'm sorry, I'm just going to talk about this real quick. This is very cool. This is our business process management workflow designer. This is something new to us, came in last year, and it's a direct reflection of others in the space. So just to drive this point home, like, you're getting a IT help desk, yes, but you're also getting a complete, fully fledged InfoPath replacement workflow management platform that comes along with it. So if you do want to come in here and configure unique workflows, you absolutely can. Okay, so just briefly. We're creating an item, right? We're creating a ticket. And now, instead of sending an email, right, an email workflow, which you can do both, right? Send email like I was just showing here, right? You can also send a mail to a Teams channel. So if you would rather have it where it pings your channel to let you know a new ticket has been created, I think I have one here in like HR. See if I can get you an idea. Yeah, leave requests. Don't pay too much attention to the nomenclature, but the idea is the same. This has been submitted, or this is something that is pertinent to your staff or to your team. Here is a link to the request. So I find it effective. You see the little one pop up on your Teams channel as opposed to the email coming in, because sometimes we lose track of emails. It's human nature. I find it more effective to be the Teams chat pinged me as opposed to the email coming in. Again, both options are there. Okay, that's ticket creation, ticket assignment. I'm gonna take a look at some of the questions now. I see these kind of flooding in before I get too far in here, to see if there's anything that's pertinent to ticket submission before I get too far ahead. Filtering options of email tickets. Looks like Scott, you answered.
Ryan, I've been handling these just so you don't have to read through
Okay.
all of them. Basically, one person was asking about filtering email. When emails come in, you want to create a ticket for one with one particular kind of subject, but not the other subject. Very doable, right?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Mhm.
And also, you can restrict it to only certain subjects, or for example, or only certain domains or certain users. Very, very configurable. The incoming email capabilities there as to what
Yeah,
to filter in and out. It's all email filter settings right there. There you go. And it
yeah,
contains or doesn't contain, and et cetera, et cetera. Not only
right.
that, once the email comes into the email tickets list, NITRO workflows run, which can then do further processing on it as needed. That was one
Exactly.
question about submission.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, those are the ones I wanted to cover. I see some other things in here about bot functionality in GCC, which you've covered, and now we'll get into more of the ticket working side. So I appreciate that. Thanks for the input there, Scott.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
Okay, so you can move on.
yeah, can it be extended with custom actions? Yeah, okay, so we'll get into that in a sec.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the ticket's been assigned. All right, so we've worked through this and we've ran the workflow and we've notified the appropriate people and we've assigned the ticket. Where am I? Okay, so when you get assigned a ticket, how do you view it, right? Right now, I'm looking at just kind of a high-level tickets dashboard. Okay, this is all open tickets, unassigned tickets, overdue. But again, thinking with that role-based permissions in mind, how does an individual technician look at their workspace, right? And that is very much when I log in, I'm going to see things equal to me, right? This is need new laptop or forgot password, whatever tickets are assigned to me that are due today or less than today, I'm going to come in and start working them. Now, I was talking about custom actions earlier. So what custom actions are, for those who don't know, is manually invoked workflows, right? If the workflow tool is trigger-based or event-based, right, the custom action is going to be manually invoked. I'm going to hit a button to run a workflow. So you're going to see the design interface is almost identical between custom actions and workflows, right, with our actions here on the left-hand side. But now we give them as actionable items on the form itself, right? So I was talking about this earlier of, okay, what if someone assigns me the ticket accidentally and I want to send this to the appropriate person, right? We can run a custom action to say, okay, hey, you know what? This is me, but it should be James, right? Warm and fuzzies, green check mark. Now the ticket's been reassigned to James. We get a refresh and we rerun that workflow. We notify the end user that, hey, your ticket's been reassigned. You can actually see it live happening up here in the Teams channel, right? In the chat, assigned to James Restivo, right? Working in real time with the bot itself. So it's kind of cool to see that workflow happen. Now, communicating with end users related to a request, okay? The main functionality, not main, okay, I'm a little ahead of myself. One of the coolest functionalities in the Forms tool that I like is this feature called associated items. So one of the big, I don't know, in my opinion, one of the large limitations inside of Power Platform for those on Office 365 is, or really anyone who's familiarity with InfoPath and its new replacement, is this idea of repeating rows. So what it is in our instance is connecting multiple SharePoint lists together. And that is true in any of our applications. The idea of a parent list with multiple sub lists underneath it, child lists to parent connections. So in this case, we're looking at a few associated tasks. So I'm going to get into this in a second, but primarily I want to talk about this email history. So essentially what associated items is, briefly a background of it, is connecting a list from the same site collection, if you have NITRO tenant-wide, really any site inside of your tenancy, and being able to show the form from that sub list in the parent form. So what does that help with? Form load time, permission structures, approval processes, right? Creating a multi-level, multi-task approval process, assigning subtasks related to a parent ticket, right? Hey, a new user has been created and I want to create 10 tasks to this user coming on from an onboarding perspective, as opposed to creating 10 different ticket types. And being able to relate all of that data stored in those sub lists up to the parent list. So I say that because I want to talk about email history. Email manager, another piece inside of NITRO Studio, right? I know, dead horse, right? But it is very prominent in everything we do in the help desk, and I like to show it in congruence with where I am in the demo. And this piece is giving us the ability to send email notifications and relate them to a ticket. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm starting an email thread related to this case ID number 286. And now we have these different mail templates, both in the workflow tool and the email manager tool. Basically, you can create your own rich text email templates to be applied to, in this case, sending an email from a request, right? If you want to come in and create as many as you want, you absolutely can. Like I said, it's rich text. And you can also pull information from the request into the subject or the body of the email, right? I kind of equate it to like a, Outlook on client. I don't know if anybody did this, but you know, I switched to OWA, but the Outlook on client version, you'd have like 15 signatures for those commonly typed emails. Like, okay, I write this all every day or multiple times a week. So I would create a signature and then select the signature, and it would just pre-populate the email for me. Same kind of principle mindset. But like password reset, you know, anyone who worked in IT, how many times we've reset someone's password, or walk through them how to do it. So you can have that kind of default mail template, or you can, you know, write your own email, right? You have that option. But the core functionality, sending an email and have it be related to a ticket. Huge thing, maybe, depending on, you know, how you value your time. And I think it's a massive time saver. So instead of having to go back and forth and copy and paste things from Outlook into SharePoint or into the ticketing system, it does it automatically for you. Now, when someone responds, it's going to keep track of both the outgoing and incoming emails related to this particular request. I can drill down and see who said it, what they said when they said it, and it now gives me an audit log not only on the ticket itself through the version history, but also emails related to this particular request, right? Anytime it's changed, as well as all emails that have come in. Okay. So working the request, let's talk about it a little bit. This first tab, pretty straightforward, right? This is going to look like what we do in the portal side for the end users. You know, what does the ticket look like for them? This is basically this information that they've submitted and captured on the ticket itself. Excuse me. One column I want to talk about though. I really like this column. I know some of these things seem small, but trust me, they're important, especially the more and more I work with customers in the space. I'm finding that these small things make a big difference. So tagging, hashtagging, right? Anyone who uses Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, right? You've tagged something in the past, you know, I don't know, 20 years or however long you've had it now. And what does that do? It makes things more searchable, right? So let's say we take knowledge-based articles aside completely. I'll get into that in a second. And we just want to strictly go back and we want to search tickets. And you're like, you know what? I know someone submitted a ticket surrounding this issue type, and I know how to fix for it, and where is it? So instead of sifting through all the tickets, this allows us to tag it with metadata. So now when you couple that in congruence with our list search tool and our print manager tool, it gives us the ability to make SharePoint more usable. So like I was saying, you know, you have your kind of base standard SharePoint search up here in the upper right-hand corner, which spits you just kind of out in generality. By using this list search tool, you can start to finite the search, right? Tickets, items, column tags, right? I'm not sure what's tagged with what, so I'm just going to search by my name right now. I'm going to say requester, but we'll pretend it's tags. And now you can start to finite the search in terms of what you're looking for. So if you want to go back and say like, oh, show me all tickets related to a network outage or admin account, I can now leverage my print manager tool for a spit out of all of those requests related to, in this case, this person. And I can actually PDF it directly from this list search feature. Boom. This guy, Ryan, submitted 50 tickets in the last month. Somebody talk to this guy. Okay, well, it doesn't want to load for me. That's okay. He wants to argue with me right now. There we go. Okay. The idea being, you know, at one point here, while this wants to figure out if it wants to load or not, I want to talk about really quickly about the ID column, the tagging column. This came directly off the backs of a customer suggestion, right? So I will say that the dev team, here's the PDF printout. I will say that the dev team, our team here internally, is very open to customer ideas and adding new features in based on customer suggestion, that IT column being absolutely one of them, and makes things more easily searchable from a ticket perspective moving forward. Now, staff tab, resolution, request status. This is pretty straightforward, working through different statuses. This is just a choice column inside of SharePoint, dropping down statuses. You can always add your own in. When you're ready to resolve a ticket, you can select your resolution, plug in your resolution notes. Again, this is rich text, and copy and paste, screenshots, etc. And this gets sent to the end user when you're ready to close the request out. Something that's also pretty cool here is we have a workflow set up on this where you can actually create a KB article from the ticket directly while working the request. So all you have to do is hit create KB article. What it does is it creates SharePoint wiki content, stores a KB under the category and issue type of the request, as well as a title you want to give it, and have it automatically create a KB. Now you can always create a KB article as an independent entity, right? You don't have to create it from a ticket, but you can do so directly from a request. So now I'm gonna take a little bit of a back seat. I'm gonna bring in Daniel Brooks. He's gonna talk about SLAs and the new features being added in from the SLA requirements in that aspect. I believe he's gonna share his screen and go from there. Daniel, you ready to rock on that piece?
Yes, Ryan, thanks for handing it off. So let me get my screen shared.
Let's see if I can change presenter to you. There you go. I'm gonna pass you the keys here. It's all you.
Thanks. All right. Could you see that, Ryan?
You're coming through just fine. I can see it.
Awesome, thanks. So as Ryan was saying, this is something that due to user feedback and constantly developing NITRO, according to a lot of just new methodologies coming out, ITIL being one, just integrating new features that streamline productivity and just make the user feel more accepted, and also the technician have more details when they get the ticket, and being able to develop a good SLA time as well. And so what we've been creating is an SLA calculator, which on submission of the ticket, you will have different selection items here. So we're currently previewing just a new version of Help Desk we've been working on. This hasn't been released yet, but there's some UI changes, and so if things look different, that is why. But when someone goes to create a new ticket, they can specify impact and urgency based upon the situation they're dealing with. So they could say like it's impacting multiple users, or if it's covering one of their items, if it's broken or if it's an inconvenience. And based upon what they enter here, a workflow will combine different values, which can all be customized in the back end. So you could create like literally as many levels or situations that the user can select, and it will add up those totals based upon a 6 value scale, and associate the SLA hours to develop the resolution end date per se, based upon the priority level. So for example, if a user selected this as impacting multiple users and they're unable to work until this is resolved, it's going to set that as critical. And from the time the ticket's created, it's going to set an end date with a 4-hour heads up time. Also here, you have a VIP list, and this is something we've been seeing for larger companies, or it's just scalable from anyone that really is really just an important person, that if their technology breaks down, the company is suffering money loss or productivity loss. So you can add VIPs in this list, and part of this initial workflow is it will notify anyone you want, whether an entire team, a manager, or even just an individual technician, that this person has submitted a ticket, and it will be an extra alert on top of the one that is saying that a ticket has been submitted. Also, additionally, just covering this goes in with just little improvements we've been making. Let me pull this up. Is also best contact methods. being able to understand how to contact the end user. Some people prefer direct messages in Teams or whatever chat interface that you're using, or some people just communicate through email or phone calls. So just little things that we're adding in that will really just help the overall user experience and ticket resolution time from an IT help desk perspective. So passing it back off to you, Ryan.
Awesome, thank you. Hey, I appreciate you showing that.
No problem.
I've lost the interface. Can you pass the presentership back to me, the top of the GoToWebinar piece? Yeah, there we go. Thank you very much. Okay, are we seeing my screen again?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so talked a little bit about SLAs there, and I appreciate Daniel for jumping in and taking care of that. Now, some other things, work log, being able to have internal notes as well as external notes with the user's possibility, but associated tasks, related items. So talking about connections to, well, other lists inside of the application, as well as the broader reach of Crow Canyon in our application tool set. As you can see right here, I'm looking at related assets. You want to be able to tie an asset to a request, to a ticket. Now, this is speaking strictly in sense of our asset tracking tool, right? But there was a question that I promised I would answer here about connectors, connecting to other third-party applications, right? Whether it be our own or other third-party tools. Through our own applications, I'm leveraging the associated items feature or lookup list, things like that, to be able to pull information from other applications into the ticketing site, like I'm showing now with a related asset to this request. Inside of the workflow tool, again, if this is something that you really want to dive deep into, we'll need probably an hour to ourselves to work through this. But one of the features inside of NITRO Studio, NITRO Workflows, is this Invoke Web Service option. And like I was saying to the person who submitted the question, right now I don't have any out-of-the-box integrations with help desks or things like that. Some things in the asset tracking application, SCCM, AirWatch, Intune, Landsweeper, right? But from the help desk perspective, right now it's just the ability to connect. So one of these actionable items is, where am I? Invoke Web Service. Well, I mean, let's do two. Invoke Workflow and Invoke Web Service. So if you're running some Power Automate flows already and you want to connect to them, you absolutely can, right? We're not mutually exclusive with Power Platform. They very much work hand in hand. I think Scott actually did a webinar called NITRO Power Platform BFS, right? And they absolutely connect. Now from the third party side, if they have an open REST API connection, you can absolutely connect to these tool sets, right? You have your different HTTP verbs and your different auth types that allow you to build those connectors out. So we're not limited here. This is, I mean, really the story of the day when it comes to Crow Canyon in our applications in NITRO Studio. It gives us that ability to make those connections to the tools that you need, whether it be IT help desk to an ERP system, another application, purchasing to an ERP system, assets to a SQL database, right? We have that functionality and that ability built into NITRO to make those connections happen. Now, can you do it on your own? If you have the expertise, absolutely. Is my team here to help as well? Again, absolutely. But it does give you that awesome ability to do it and have it be included, right? That was another issue that we had with kind of Power Platform at base levels. Our pricing model doesn't reflect the per user, per month, per flow like they have it currently set up. So to circumvent that, we said, you know what, let's add it in. Let's make it an integral part of the application and let people choose, their path forward. Okay, so I promise I'd touch on it about those integrations. If you do have more.
Ryan, one person was asking about Azure. So you can show in our NITRO visual workflow that there is the Azure functions on there you go, right there. Yeah, invoke an Azure function. Just to make sure we covered that, as well as execute a script. You can always execute a script and write code for that too.
Absolutely.
Or we can write it for you, of course, too.
Thank you. Yeah, I did see that question. You're right. Thanks, Scott.
And
so yeah.
Also, Ryan, just wanted to point out while you're in the workflow tool is the workflow tool also has a great debugging feature in it that we've recently been putting out, and it's actually an excellent tester tool for just seeing the progress of a workflow in development stage. And if anyone's used to Power Automate, it's in my honest opinion, it's a better testing debugger tool than Power Automate has. It gives more detail and shows how the data is being handled and where the errors are drilled down to the very specific action. So,
and that means a lot coming from someone who has intricate knowledge of both, right?
yep.
Okay, thanks guys, I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks for jumping in there and hammering out those questions that I glossed over. Thank you very much. Yeah, I get excited, I get rolling, I sometimes miss questions, so I apologize. But keep those questions flowing, we'll answer them as they come. Okay, so the other big list inside of the help desk application, the other functionality here, tasks we talked about, right? You can create subtasks related to a parent request, whether it be ad hoc, like I'm showing now. You know, maybe you need A, B, and C, or X, Y, and Z, and you want to assign it to somebody else. You absolutely can. I'll use James, right? Assign it a due date, just like a ticket, but now he's a subtask related to it. If you wanted to explore some more options and have tasks be automatically created based on certain ticket types, absolutely a possibility as well, right? Okay. Change requests and problem management. So in our nomenclature, problem management is kind of similarly to, you know, ticket to task is, except when you get, you know, 10, 15 tickets into the help desk about some sort of issue, my internet's not working or whatever it may be, right? And you want to close all those tickets out or merge those tickets is the common one. Well, we're working inside of SharePoint, right? So the positive thing working with SharePoint is you can do whatever you want. Sometimes the negative thing of SharePoint is you can do whatever you want, right? And that mindset of like merging tickets, it's like, well, yeah, you could, but does that make sense? So in my opinion, this is actually a cleaner way to go about it. So let's say everyone comes in related to this particular ticket type or this particular ticket, and you want to connect them all together. So when you do, and you can create a problem as an independent entity, or you can create a problem from a ticket if you'd like. But essentially now you're creating a blanket parent ticket to all of these sub tickets. You go through and you work the problem, you know, just like you would a ticket in this instance, except now when you have all of these sub tickets related to it, when the parent problem is closed, the workflow runs, which means all the subsequent child tickets are closed, all the end users are notified. You don't have to go through and update those one at a time, right? Makes it easier from that regard. And now you can essentially combine tickets together, quote unquote, merge them, but still notify the end users as independent entities to let them know that their issue has been resolved.
Hey, Brian. Oh, yeah, we also had a question about the workflow and triggers and the workflow tool. And someone asked what kinds of triggers we can use in the workflow tool. And essentially, you can use scheduled, anything that's scheduled, whether that's columns or even just a static date that you want it to run, a reoccurring schedule. You can also have it invoked by other workflows, and also to be able to integrate well with the Power Platform, you can even invoke other Power Automate workflows if you already have those built out in your environment. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, you can invoke workflows from custom actions. You can invoke workflows from other workflows. You can invoke Power Automate workflows, SharePoint workflows, all kinds of ways to invoke workflows there. Yeah, it's very, 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 very robust.
Like I said, I told you guys we can get in the weeds with workflows. Right? we can on a side tangent. So if you guys do have questions about those workflow tools, about the different functionality of the workflow, seriously ping me. You know, we'll set up a time to chat.
Yeah,
Scott,
talk directly is better.
Yeah, we'll cover those in a more in-depth call because yeah, we could talk about it all day, and we have no problem talking about it all day.
Yeah, that's what we do all day.
So change requests. You know, as we're creeping towards the top of the hour here, I just want to make it through this last little bit. Again, we're looking at an individual ticket. We can create a change from a ticket, right? Going back to my custom actions features, I can create a change request directly from this ticket. And actually, this one's probably a good one to work off of and need a laptop, right? Oh, this is forgot password. Okay, but let's say we need a laptop and needs to go through some approval process, right? Or maybe it's not even an approval process. Maybe it's a system update and we want to create a change request independent of a ticket. The idea being you have the functionality for both. Create a change request from a ticket or create a change request as an independent entity. And now the form for the change, Like all forms, it's configurable. You know, a lot of the information is going to be here that you need. Who's the owner of the change? Who's the requester of the change? The due date, the details, affected components, costs, rollback options, right? Testing, training requirements, work log, etc. Things commonly associated with change. And then the ability to assign out subtasks here as well. So we very much like that associated items feature, and you can see it prevalent in all major functionality of the help desk. So the big feature is, okay, when this change gets submitted, how does it get routed for approval?
And one person asked about multiple approvers too for that. So.
Yeah. And that's what I'm gonna take a side step here. I'm gonna take a look at the advanced approval app. Now you can do it in either workflows or approvals, but I'm going to walk you through advanced approvals because I think it's gonna answer a lot of your guys' questions when it comes to multiple approvers and multiple levels of approvers. So as you can see here, the interface is talking about, you know, what options are we gonna give our approvers? Approve, deny, send back. Essentially give them the ability to make a choice on this change, okay? And now we can configure as many approval levels as we want. Using this associated items feature, it allows us to have a multi-step approval process because we have a sub list called approval tasks that roll up to the parent list of, in this case, where am I? Change requests, right? So if I come into a change request dashboard or change request itself, and I look at one of these, I'm going to be able to see all these subtasks related to a change request, right? All of these sub approval tasks related to the change request here, right? And theoretically, we can have as many as we want. So I have level 1 approver here, and within each level of approval, we can define our different options. You can have multiple levels, you can have multiple approvers, you can have a group, and then we can start to define additional logic here. All approvers need to approve. If any approver denies 50%, 3 or more, right? So now when we start to flesh this out, okay, level 1 is going to be 3 approvers for the management group, and then it's going to go to level 2, and it's also going to be a group as well, and it's going to be strictly, you know, coordinating managers, and I want 75% of them to approve for it to be passed along. And then third and final level is going to go CEO approval, and we'll make it Scott specific, right? And now you have the ability, like any, you know, people picker column in this case, is that you can select people who you want to be the approver, right? So yeah, to answer the question directly, yes, multiple levels of approvers, multiple options for multiple approver definitions inside of each level. Now, once these tasks get created, in this case, we have a stepped approval set up. So level 1 needs to approve first before it goes to level 2. People are responsible to come in and update the approval task, right? I need to approve this. So James in this case can come in and approve his task. Not everyone is the best about coming in and updating approval tasks, right? As I talk to more and more people. So we try to make it as easy as possible for them, those change approvers. We can do it through the bot, right? You know, you can, I think I have a command in here, hold on. View my pending approvals. I might be lying here, but we can do it through the bot and actually update approval tasks through the bot itself. So you get a little notification when you're assigned an approval task. Okay, I don't have that configured right now, but the idea being, you know, you get a notification just like you're seeing above here with the ability to update that approval task. Yeah, I don't have that command configured right now. That's okay. But yeah, you can do it through the bot. The other option, pretty popular as well, is this kind of quote unquote lazy approval process, right? And now we're going to start to, this is going to come back and start to answer some questions about email parsing. Okay, so let's say that column internally is a multi-choice column of approve, deny, or send back, right? We're giving them options. Here's the information from the change. This is a purchase request, but again, don't pay too much attention to the nomenclature here. We're just looking at the functionality. A link to the item, a link to the task, the options, and the information related to the change. Now, once they select one of these options, we parse the email title, the approval decision, the change decision, the change it affects, and then any notes added here get added to the comments. It goes back to that initial point I made earlier, you know, almost an hour ago. You know, we want people to use it. Whatever we can do to get people to use it is going to be the most effective use of the help desk. So if it's people coming in and completing the task, if it's leveraging the bot, if it's doing it via email, all options are there. and whatever we can do to make that happen internally to use this application most effectively inside of your organization. So I actually kind of hit right on time here, 11:55. I got one more thing to talk about, and we'll open up to more questions, and that is reporting. I have a report center here. I have graphical interface to the information in the help desk. That could be average time taken to resolve tickets by staff, average time to assign tickets, close tickets, resolve tickets. Basically, the reporting tool, as long as the information lives within the application, we can report on it, right? We're just pulling this information from the list. I also showed earlier the ability to pull out the raw data as well into Excel and into a PDF print template as well. And then the things that are more and more prevalent in today's world is connections to Power BI, right? And the very simple answer is, okay, I'm gonna wait for that to load again. Sorry, guys. The very simple answer is, it's a SharePoint list, can absolutely connect to Power BI. If you want to tie into C-level dashboards, create a dashboard, and they're comfortable using Power BI already, you can leverage our dashboards if you'd like. But the point being, the information's inside of a SharePoint list and can be pushed out to Power BI dashboards as well. Working on putting some KB articles out in that space. But that's the options for reporting. And while we're here, and we're creeping towards the end mark, the top of the hour, feel free to let those questions pile in. We'll kind of talk about the ones that have come in already if I didn't cover them. But right off the bat here, can we get a trial demo version? I can do a live demo one-on-one like I'm doing now, except a little bit more in depth, where it's you and I talking directly, and I can see Scott wrote back to you already. If you want a personal demo, ping us, we'll set it up. We'll do a walkthrough. I have some other options there that we can talk about, but yeah, we do have the options for live demos. Is there a development roadmap that you can share showing future plans improved? So Lee, we're working on that currently right now. Like Daniel mentioned, we are focusing on some upgrades to the help desk in 2022. We'll have a more clear idea once we start to get into the actual nitty-gritty development of that aspect. I'll keep you in mind, and as we start to roll that out, you'll be in the know of when those features and updates are coming.
Right, and that's integrated very closely with our updates to the NITRO Studio itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very much, we have a whole Vision 2022 and a whole line of set of work we're doing with it. Like we came out with the Visual Workflow Designer inside of 2021. We have some other things we're doing with data integrations and external databases. So yeah, there's a lot. It's continually evolving and growing. I see some other questions coming in. So
yeah, these are
importing tickets. You want to talk about that, Ryan?
Yeah, I do. Importing tickets from Spiceworks with history. So it's a tricky, migration's never fun. Anyone who's done a migration, it's like, yeah, okay, we can do it, right? But does anyone like doing migration? No. Yeah, so the answer to the question directly, it's not included with the application, right? It's not a part of my services like the training and setup, but we can migrate from existing environments into our help desk application, very much possible. That's just something we'll have to scope out independently. We could talk about.
Well, the thing is, we can import tickets. I mean, if they have it in a Excel spreadsheet or some kind of database, we can take it and bring it in. But like you say, there's subtleties to that we want to talk about. Import from a CSV for sure. As long as the fields line up with our columns in our IT help desk, that's no problem. They just pull it right in. That's really what I'm talking about. You have to kind of line the two up nicely so that you're pulling in the right data to the right fields. But
yeah, nail on the head. And then I see Daniel just answered Lee again here. Where's your data stored? It's a big, this comes up a lot. This is entirely self-contained inside of your Office 365 environment. It's stored in SharePoint lists and libraries that reside in your SharePoint space.
Yes, and the NITRO Secure version on premises, everything's tightly in your farm. We also have a dedicated Azure version where everything stays completely inside your own environment there inside of Office 365, even the Azure functions. So that's all important for the more secure GCC high people, but some others want that also.
Yeah, we work with a lot of government contractors, federal entities, state entities that need things completely self-contained inside of their tenancy, which is something, again, if you want to talk about more detail. 2.5, 3 years ago, we couldn't have a clear answer, but now we have all of that worked out. And like I said, we are in some of the highest levels of government in the space. So we'd be happy to have those conversations. If you do have any questions around that, reach out, give us a shout.
Yeah, there's a question about licensing also here.
Where is it? Do I see it?
About 3 or 4 up. License are required on top of the SharePoint licenses.
Mm.
Yeah, you have to have SharePoint. You have to have your SharePoint and your tenant in place. And then there's 2 options you can go. You go to NITRO Studio tenant license if you want to get NITRO Studio to use in as many sites and workflows and forms as you want. Or you can go by the application, and that's going to be an application license for that, which includes in that one site NITRO Studio for the application. So you can, like Ryan was saying, take and modify the IT help desk to your heart's content if you wish. If you have some needs, particular needs, you want reasons want to do that. So you get the application NITRO Studio for the one site and the application license, or it's kind of like vertical. I always look at it that way, or horizontal, more where you can get NITRO Studio for the full Office 365 tenant and use it as many sites as you want.
Right. One small subtlety to add to that. Scott's exactly right. Now, this question comes up, I'm going to say 25-30% of the time when I run demos, and I'm sure some of you have this in the back of your mind of, can I have multiple departments work inside of the same help desk, right? Can I have an IT help desk? Can I have my facilities team? Can I have my finance team, my HR team? Ideally, we want them separate in their own instance, their own version of the help desk. It really comes down to 2 things: permission structure and form flexibility, right? Is it possible? Maybe, potentially, right? I would have to have more details about how many departments you're looking and how many people in those departments. And then really those 2 questions are the ones that we need answered. Can everyone see the tickets that flow into the tickets list? And secondly, is everyone's form the same? If the questions, very simply, if the questions or the answer to those questions are yes, we can probably make it work. Again, I'll need to talk about it in more detail with you on a call. If they're different forms or they need to be totally segmented from a viewing perspective, then we suggest getting multiple instances of the help desk.
Right. That's exactly right. Okay, good. So what else is going on here?
Any other questions, folks, while you got us?
Importing. Mainly the thing is, there's a lot of one-on-one need to have that conversation, a one-on-one conversation, because everybody's got their particular situation. It could be a simple help desk with just, maybe 1 or 2 people, 3 people, servicing 50, or it could be a very complex situation where you want to incorporate asset management and purchasing and other aspects to it too. So it's really important to have the conversation with us to make sure we're putting it, talking about the right features that you need in the right situation and how to implement it and migrate from something else or integrate with other third-party programs and things like that. So,
Right. Nail on the head.
yeah, that's okay. Good. Yeah, it was quite a number of questions there, and it's great to see. And I think we can follow up with some of the people here who did. But anyone else who wants a more one-on-one, more engaged, more engaged with us, and we'll talk about different things. We really enjoy this actually, because there's many challenges with providing a help desk, a service desk efficiently to your organization, and there's a lot of challenges there, and it's always interesting to see how we can meet those and provide a help desk that will service that, whether it's internal employees, which is our main focus, or sometimes people are servicing clients or customers on the outside. That's a possibility too. And there's all kinds of different arrangements and permutations of a help desk and service desk situation. So important to get in touch, talk with us. We've been doing this for many, many years, and we know a lot of how help desk work, as well as SharePoint, Office 365, and Teams. So Ryan, do you think we're all set here?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I just appreciate the questions, the feedback.
Oh, here's the largest user base. Do you have a number of the largest user base? I don't know, the federal government, Department of Justice is big.
Probably Ecolab, about 40,000 or so.
Yeah,
probably not. They might not use it for all of their users. They use an iteration of the help desk called work order tracking. But yeah, in the multi-thousand range, customer end user base. From a technician perspective, like what Scott was saying, anywhere from a couple technicians all the way to 10s, 20s, 30s, right? So the
Department of Justice is another big one. One division of it isn't the full Department of Justice, but it's right. Big. It's big. Yeah, I think you're right.
In the multi-thousands, that would be my guess in that range. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, City of Phoenix probably would be the
It's a
biggest
big one,
actually.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think of that right off the top of my head, but that's a good question.
Yeah, I can get some some answers for you, Chris. I got your email. If I can get a solid number for you, I'll shoot it over. Cool. All right, well, we'll wrap it up. Hey, I appreciate the questions. Seriously, though, everyone who attended and actively engaged, I appreciate it, guys. You guys have a nice day. Scott, thanks for setting this up. Daniel, thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ryan. Okay, thank
Bye,
you,
guys.
everyone.
Take care,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.